Hello everybody, welcome to our Nbbl draft analysis, the lovely Nova Beckham Battalion League. Um, we are in the Academy Division for this season, so we are going to be analysing our draft. That's what this is. Instead of waffling on, let's get straight into it. I'm very excited about this draft. I think it is going to be an absolutely broken team because the first pick that we have been able to pick up was Shaman Sky. This one is so stupid. Serene Grace is absolutely busted with this thing. Dare I need to say more. Air Slash with being a 60% chance to flinch is absolutely ridiculous. Seed Flare, I think it's also 30% drop chance to drop special defense, maybe 20. I'm not too sure, but doubling that as well. So getting those, even those monsters that switch into those resisted Seed Flares, don't always want to take a second one, which is amazing. This thing also gets access to Healing Wish, I'm pretty sure, which is amazing to keep yourself healthy on the team, and you'll see some of those things later that absolutely love it. Yeah, what else? This thing, I think it has momentum and baton pass potentially, which is amazing, and it just gets some good coverage. So like earth power for those steel types that want to switch in against those grass and flying type moves, as well as some cool stuff like psychic and dazzling gleam. So that is Shaman Sky. Yeah, I'm very, very excited to have this thing for the first pick. And then on the way back, for some reason this thing just was not picked up. So I went and grabbed Zamazenta Ground. Two of the things that are not banned, that you normally see banned, and I'm able to get both of them on my team, I think is absolutely insane. I think just off basis of the first two mons, I think, like, I genuinely think I got away with two of the best mons from the starting pool. I did use like a third of my budget, but like, who cares? I have a Zamazenta Ground and a Shaman Sky. If you don't already know what this thing does, this thing is just the best physical ball out there, giving itself a +1 in defense or switch in. Yes, we're giving up that item slot, but I think that +1 defense and being a defensive wall is absolutely insane. Again, unfortunately it loses it every time it switches out now, which is alright, but this thing just hits like a hard with body presses and heavy slams, which is ridiculous. It does get some cool setup in Howl, which is quite niche, but it's cool. It gets some good coverage, has access to wild charge. This thing has a base speed of 128, like this thing is ridiculously fast, alongside Shaman Sky with the base speed of 127, like it's a 1 point difference, is insane. It also just has other good stab in Behemoth Bash and close combat, it gets brick break to break screens. This thing also has a special move pool. Obviously it's probably not going to come, but it does have a special move pool, which is really cool. Otherwise, this thing's, yeah, it's just this high defense body presses, go crazy, and it does have access to screens as well, which is really nice for the team. I love this thing. I think this is going to be an amazing second pick for us. Next up, I went and got Cinderace. I seriously think another stupidly strong one. This thing, again, hits like an absolute truck. That Libera ability is amazing, being able to switch around its types every time for the first time, so getting a stab on just about anything is amazing. This thing gets some strong moves. It gets Pyro Ball. Pyro Ball is just amazing. It gets Skunk Shock, its high jump kicks. It's got a really deep special move pool as well. Stuff like Scorching Sands is really, really cool. Niche Tech also gets access to U-Turn, and but also that it has some really good supporting moves. Sword Stance, Taunt, Sucker Punch, Super Fang, Will-O-Wisp. This thing has got such a deep move pool, and honestly, you can find this being used in all different ways. Most importantly as well, it gives me access to Court Change as well, so it actually gives us a way of managing hazards potentially. Which is really nice. If our opponent wants to hazard spam in front of us and we don't bring hazards, we can just switch them around, which does kind of lock Cinderace into heavy duty boots sometimes, but I think that boots is such a broken item nowadays, so I am definitely happy to have Cinderace on the team. Next up, I went and grabbed Tedzacruel. Might be a bit early, it might not be. Some people might say it. I think this is a perfectly fine pick for Tentacle. I think this thing is amazing. Having a special defense stat of 120 is always amazing. I think water poisoning is a cool typing. I think, yeah, it gives me access to a grounded Toxic Spike. Toxic Spike's Absorber, which is amazing. Always need one, I reckon. But not only that, this thing also gives me Rapid Spin. So if I don't need to run Core Change on Cinderace, I can use Tentacle to get rid of hazards. Not only that, but it now gives me access to a Grassfire Water Core, which is really nice. Has some good abilities. Liquid Ooze to stop stuff from trying to click Giga Drain, and taking more damage back is always cool. And Draining Kiss, so like those Primarinas, is always nice. Clear Body just to prevent attack drops, and special attack drops here and there is quite niche but also amazing. The Rain Dish is situational, but it's quite good into rain teams. But again, this thing is super cool. It's good disruptive mon. It has haze, it has knockoff, it flips around. Again, it spins, spreads poison with toxic, and also sets toxic spikes itself. It's just I love Tentacle. I think it actually does a lot of good things. Like I like using Assault Vest sets to further boost that special defense stats. I've also bluffed Rapid Spin to get a speed boost, and then also run Swords Dance on Tentacle, and then actually like I've bluffed Rapid Spin, gone rid of hazards, they've switched something back in to set them back up, and you click Swords Dance in front of them. And stuff like that, Liquidation and Gunk Shot absolutely hits strong. Like its special attack stat's only 10 points higher than its attack stat is. It can be a threat on both sides. It might not put out as much damage as something like Cinderace or Shaman, but it definitely can put out some damage. So that is Tentacle. I'm very excited to have Tentacle again. Next up, I went and grabbed my first Terra Captain, Haxorus. I love Terra Haxorus. I think this one is stupid with it. I've gone with Terra Dragon, Fairy, and Steel. Steel just gives us resistance to Fairy and Dragon moves, and then Fairy also makes us immune to Dragon type moves and neutral to Ice, which is really nice. But Steel also buffs those Iron Heads that Haxorus likes throwing off. This thing is so strong. Swords Dance base 147 attack stat is ridiculous. And then also just this thing is such a, it's Garchomp. It might be a little weaker in this base stat total, obviously it's not a pseudo, but I like this thing more than Garchomp. I like Garchomp, which says a lot. Like I've had Garchomp as my kill leader before. It was like the second MVP in a season, I think but yeah, Haxorus I think I love even more. Dragon Dance is really cool. But it's just not as needed when you've got stuff like Scale Shot and Swords Dance. Obviously Fairy types being able to block that Scale Shot is really good. But otherwise it's so strong. Like those Mold Breakers and being able to click Earthquake into like those levitating electric types is amazing. It actually has quite a deep move pool. Also gets access to Aqua Tail. What else it has? It has Poison Jab. It also gets First Impression, which is actually quite a good bring on it. So it's a really cool move. Has Rock Slide and Shadow Balls for some other, as well as X-Scissor for some really strong physical attacks. And it also has Trailblaze if we don't need to, if we just want to run Dragon Core Rage instead. So I'm very excited to try out Terra Haxorus again. Next up, I needed to finish off the Dragon Fairy Steel Core, so I went and grabbed the amazing Sylveon. This thing is just a bulky mon, bulky Wish Passer. Another especially defensive thick mon. More over defense, but that's alright when we have something like Zamazenta. But allowing me to pass those wishes around to Zamazenta, which can't really heal itself outside of rest, is amazing alongside those healing wishes from what's his name, sorry, Shaman, is just like genuinely amazing. Not only that, this one is an amazing baton passer, so being able to keep its momentum on, but not only that, it's able to keep itself healthy with Draining Kisses and those cute charm sets, but not only Hyper Voice, strong Hyper Voice, Pixelate, boosted Choice Specs. It's genuinely just amazing. It has access to Quick Attack as well for some cool priority. Not only that, but it's a really good abuse of Calm Mind, as well as Psychic and Psyshock on those Calm Mind sets is amazing alongside Shadow Ball. And really niche, it has access to Store Power as well. But again, this thing is so important for us. It allows us to block those Dragon type damage. that is coming towards us, and I think it is a very, very strong one for us, so I'm very excited for Sylveon. Next up, I wanted to get an electric type, and I went and picked up Galvantula. Um, this give me webs. Webs isn't something I tend to draft, and I really wanted to try out a team built with webs on it. So I went and grabbed Sticky Web Galvantula, which is really cool because it means it stops me from having to run Choice Scarf all the time. Obviously, you've got stuff like Cinderace and Shaman Sky, which are quite common abuses of Choice Scarf. But with a -1 in speed, it allows me to run stuff like Cinderace and Shaman Sky with other choice items, and also still outspeed some of the other choice scarfers. Obviously this Mons quite tends to be used for that, but I think this thing is quite strong offensively. Those Thunders boosted by Compound Eyes bring it to like a 99% accuracy. Barely Missing is super strong, like slapping a Life Orb on a Galvantula is super strong. Bug Buzz hitting past substitutes, having access to that sound move is nice, and then having access to that strong grass type step to hit those ground types that want to take that Thunders in Energy Ball and Giga Drain. It's always just amazing. This thing gets Volt Switch, so it's another good pivot for us. It also gets access to Sucker Punch for some niche, what's it called, niche priority. Unfortunately, I don't think it has access to Reflect, but it definitely has access to Light Screen, which is another cool. Potentially setting up those light screens for something like that Summer Center is amazing. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to have Galvantula on the team again. Next up, I needed a ground type. If you don't get a ground type, you just get electric spammed, and it becomes really, really bad for you. So I went and got Gligar. Obviously, it's not the strongest thing around, but it is a Gen 2 Mon that did end up getting an evolution, so it does have some viability, so thank goodness. And giving it that EVL item, just boosting its defenses further, is really, really good. It's got a base 105 defense, so it's quite defensively strong. But this thing, so this thing unfortunately doesn't have access to Roost, so it doesn't have that reliable healing that it does anymore. But again, on our team with a Wish Passer and a Healing Wish Passer, allowing us to potentially keep Gligar around is really nice. Again, also has momentum in U-turn and Baton Pass. So, really good, another momentum bomb, always nice to have. But this thing is a really good abuser of hazards. Not only does it get Stealth Rocks, it also gets access to Spikes, and it also gets access to Toxic Spikes, which is really nice for the team. So we have covered all hazards with Galvantula just in 2 picks, which is really, really nice. But this thing, don't underestimate it. Like, its Earthquakes hit strong, and it's really just another disruptive mon. Click and just clicks knockoff as well. So this thing, even Sword Stance sets, like, it's nothing to sleep on. 85 base speed with those sticky webs, potentially Sword Stancing and running it alongside, outrunning a lot of the bonds in that middle speed tier on the other side is really good. So I'm really, really excited for Gligar. I think it's going to be really strong. Even if it's just a ground type to block electric types, I'm very excited to try it out. Next up, obviously I was running hella low on points. So I really had to start picking up some of the lower mons that I really wanted to use. So I went and grabbed Sneasel. Obviously not something you might think of, and obviously, like, I've definitely used Hisuian Sneasel before, but I've never used normal Sneasel. And I think having a strong Ice type is always good. Now obviously it's another Johto mon that did get an evolution which made it stronger, so it does also get access to holding the EVL item. But this thing did have niches before it even had Weavile, so this thing's definitely nothing to sleep on. Having access to Priority and Fake Out, Ice Shard, don't think it gets access to Sucker Punch, which is unfortunate, but you know what, just having those strong priority in Ice Shard is nice on potentially like Choice Band sets alongside stuff like your knockoffs and your Icicle Crushes and your Icicle Shards. This thing is still really speedy as well. Base 115 speed is nice, so potentially chucking a Sword Stance loaded dice on this thing is nice. Also gets access to some niche moves. X-Scissor does have Shadow Claw and Poison Jab, which is nice for fairies as well. Yeah, this thing is just it's going to be a fast, if you're not prepared for it, this thing could come, it could be fast, and it could actually chip on some really nice strong damage. Like a base 95 attack is nothing to sleep on. Again, same as just like the Gligar. It's something that I feel like could potentially be slept on. Helps against Psychic Spam that we might be coming up against, which is really nice. So I'm excited to try out Sneasel. Second to last, I had to pick up my second Terra Captain, and I wanted another water type that wasn't a defensive one like Tentacruel was, so I went and picked up Bruxish. This thing's hated on for no reason. This thing is such a strong one, I think. 92 base speed is, again, right in the middle, but with those webs for support from Galvantula, chucking a Choice Scarf or a Choice Band on this thing hits hard. Like, again, it's a base of 105 attack, is crazy, and nothing to be slept on. I've gone with the Terra types of Water, Dark, and Fighting. Between Water, Psychic, Dark, and Fighting, nothing resists all four typings, so it's really strong. Against just literally, I could just run like Wave Crash, Psychic Fangs, Crunch, and Terra Blast Fighting, and it literally just dukes everything. Potentially Choice Band set, it could literally just break entire teams. Also gets access to Momentum in Flip Turn. Has other stuff like Ice Fang with those Strong Jaw ability, boosting it to even further heights, which is nice. And Psychic Fang is also getting access to Raking Screens, is really cool. Does also get access to Sword Stance, which is really nice. Potentially Trick Root. If other teams, like obviously my team is actually quite fast and sitting in the middle area, not much to deal with a slower potential team. So if something tries to trick room against us, we could potentially, like if we're expecting a Farigaraft, a setup Farigaraft Terra Captain to come, we could potentially reverse that trick room and then crunch it back, something like that. Also gets access to Pain Split, which is really nice. Obviously gets access to healing, probably nothing you'd think from a Bruxish if you didn't know, but because it doesn't have such a high HP base stat. But so potentially being really low and sucking back all the health off of something is really nice. So I'm actually really excited to try Bruxish as a Terra Captain. And then lucky last, I had 1 point left, and I went and grabbed Gabite. I can't believe this. Since 1 point, I've seen this thing actually be used on stuff like that. Like, you know, you see your ones like Thwacky being drafted for like 3 or 4, potentially more sometimes, because it does have access to that grassy terrain. But I think Gabite is actually a really nice abuser, another abuser of Eviolite. Thankfully, to my knowledge, there is no item calls. So yeah, having access to another Eviolite user is strong. This thing is really good with Rough Skin, or even just slapping a Rocky Helmet on it for stuff that is physical, and taking it on. I've gone with Terra types, Ground, Steel, and Water. Water lets us take those ice moves stronger, but also Ground allowing us to have stronger ground type moves, and Steel allowing us to fight back at fairies is really nice. And again, I said I love Garchomp, so why not try out Gabite? You know, this thing is still quite strong, 90 base attack, 82 base speed, it's in the middle, it's got the same HP stat as Bruxish, which is really funny as I'm looking at it. But yeah, this thing can still fire off strong Earthquakes, it also fires off strong Iron Heads and Outreaches. But not only that, this thing again gives us access to Stealth Rocks, which is nice, potentially leaving a free slot for Gligar if they were to come at the same stuff. But again, this thing, like, it also gets phasing in Dragon Tail, which I think can be really big sometimes, especially like some one that thinks they can set up in front of Gabite and you get rid of them with Dragon Tail. I think it's really nice and really niche, but it works out sometimes. So yeah, I'm excited to have Gabite for a point. I think it's a steal. But yeah, that is my team for the Nbbl Academy League. I genuinely think it's going to be one of the strongest teams around, and I'm so excited to use it. Let me know what your thoughts are on the team down in the comments, and then make sure to leave a like and subscribe as well if you haven't already. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.